Happy Thursday, everybody. We actually have football to talk about. How about that? It is Thursday night is the opening of week 1 of the college football season. There's 11 football games on tonight. Highlights probably would be Florida against Utah in a game played at Salt Lake City at Rice Eccles Field. Then on Fox, you've got Nebraska opening up the Big Ten season at Minnesota. And you got UCF in Orlando taking on Kent State. So there you go. Those are the big three tonight, and probably some entertaining games, if you look at it. And we see who we got in the house today. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? It's going to be a lot of fun to see what goes on in the next couple of days, as we're going to get almost 110 football games between now and Monday night. So there you go. All right, Jeff, I really am at a loss regarding the ACC. It seems that they're arguing two for schools against the expansion of hastening the death of the conference and getting out. Sad. As an ACC fan, yeah, Jeff, I agree with you. I think right now there's no reason to not allow Stanford and Cal and SMU in there. There's a $72 million pot that they can split up. It's not going to change the dynamic of what FSU may want, or what Clemson may want, or what North Carolina may want, or North Carolina State, any of the teams that are supposedly against it, right? The key here, the expansion is not a bad thing. And Stanford, Cal, and SMU are not going to hurt the conference. If anything, they'll help the conference. But I just, to block them, it makes no sense. It just doesn't, because it's not going to help you get out of a grant of rights, which is $120 million. It's not going to help you buy your way out of the ESPN deal, which is going to cost you about $500 million. So, what exactly? I understand you're mad. I understand you want more money. Everybody does. But, holding the conference hostage doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. So I would, I still think it'll happen. I still think that about a 70-80% chance that it goes by. Whether it goes by this week, we only have today and tomorrow for that to happen. And or Tuesday of next week. I don't know. But I do think they find a way to get across the finish line. It may be kicking and screaming, but it is. And this morning I put on Twitter that the number one optimist in the country had to be Kurt Schultz, who's the president of Washington State, who basically said that he thinks that there's still a chance to totally rebuild the Pac. And I applaud his hopefulness, but I don't think that that's going to happen with two schools. So we'll see. Let's move on. And we got Syracuse 41, Colgate 10. Oh, there you go. You're picking not only the game, the winner, you're picking the score. So, Syracuse has been Syracuse has had some outrageously good football teams, and I hope that they're back in that realm of wanting and playing football at the highest level. Colgate, I say that's an interesting. It's one of those teams that they should definitely beat, because Colgate's not going to have a lot of depth there. But Syracuse 41, Colgate 10 sounds like a fair school score to me. Let's go over real quick tonight's games and who the broadcasters are. Kent State UCF, that game's at 7 p.m. kickoff on FS1. Eric Collins on the play-by-play, Devin Gardner on the color. Elon at Wake Forest, 7 o'clock, ACC Network. Drew Carter, Dustin Fox handling that. Rhode Island at Georgia State, that's a 7 o'clock kick on ESPN+. We don't have an announcers list for that, but I'm assuming there will be. St. Francis of Pennsylvania at Western Michigan. That's ESPN+. Dan Rogowski, Marcus Ray on the call. NC State versus Connecticut. So UConn, that's a 7:30 on CBSN Sports Network. Now, for those of you who know where to find it, and it's hard to find CBS Sports Network. I mean, CBS Sports easy to find. Paramount Plus easy to find. CBS Sports Network not so much. Okay, I'm gonna the hack here. Okay, here's the hack, and it's real easy. Go to if you have your phone or whatever tablet, go to CBS Sports, download the app. It plays in the app. So you can watch it if you're so inclined to watch NC State and Connecticut play. You can watch it. It's free. And so just do it that way. Go to their website, download the app, or if you want to, you can watch it on the website. It's free and it's easy. All right, Ed Cohen and Christian Fura will be on the call for that. Big game, Nebraska at Minnesota. That's a game nationally seen on Fox, 8 o'clock. Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt on the call there. Florida, Utah, that's also an 8 p.m. start on ESPN. Chris Fallon, Kurt Herbstreit on that one. South Dakota at Missouri, that's an 8 o'clock start. SEC Network, Clay Maltic and Aaron Murray. UAPB at Tulsa, that's ESPN Plus. James Wrestling and Ledger Duzerb on the call there. AT&T, North Carolina A&T at UAB. That's an 8 o'clock start. ESPN Plus. Richard Cross, Taylor McHugh on that one. Southern Utah travels south to Phoenix to face Arizona State. That's a 10 o'clock kick on the Pac-12 network. Roxy Bernstein, our buddy, and Lincoln Kennedy on the call for that game. So there's your games tonight, and a lot of stuff going on with that regard from a standpoint of, I think this week, if you are a broadcaster and a color analyst and have been for more than 20 minutes, you've got a game this week. It seems like they're going all out to make sure everybody has some games to watch, and no question about that. You're going to have some games to watch. The funny thing too is you're right about that. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll go over the Friday night schedule. It's not as big, obviously, but there is some Friday night games. You got Howard at Eastern Michigan. That's a 6:30 start on ESPN Plus. Jimmy Barber and Ryan Kavanaugh on the call. Central Michigan at Michigan State. Our buddy Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman on that call. That's FS1. Miami of Ohio. This is Miami versus Miami. It is. It's Miami of Ohio down in Miami to face Miami of Florida. That's a 7 o'clock kick on the ACC network. Jay Alter and Rennie Ingala will be on the call. Louisville at Georgia Tech. That game's in Atlanta. That's a 7:30 start. Mish Schmoff and Andre Warrior on the call there. Missouri State and Kansas. That game's at 8 o'clock start on ESPN Plus. You got Chucky Kempf and Eamon Green on that call. Stanford at Hawaii. Not a bad situation. That game being played in Honolulu. 11 p.m. kick, and that's Dave Ryan on the call for CBSN and Robert Turbin on the color side of the deal. So there you go on your phone, on your games for tomorrow. Let's talk about what okay, from the ACC standpoint. Okay, another question about the ACC, and that's the I don't know, guys, when they're going to vote. It's probably going to be sometime. I would assume if they want to get this thing over and not have to linger into a storyline over the weekend with so many games that they have being played, I would think that they look. This is a phone call, all right. It's not tough to do. So the phone call comes and either up or down. I said before, I thought it was 75 to 80%. So I think they're gonna pass it, and the ACC is going to have 3 new members at the end of the day. So we'll see. It's either going to come, today, as I said, Friday, or not till next week. But we'll see. We will definitely see. Let's go back to the questions. All righty. Let's go here. Okay. Max Thrust. Max is breaking something here. USF has unveiled renders of a potential Pack uniform. We look forward to closing the deal in the coming days, said an anonymous source um, at USF. So uh, this is interesting, given the fact that the Pack isn't, well, it hasn't dissolved, but it is at this point, um, wondering where they want to go. Stanford and Cal, if for some reason it falls through, then they would be onboarding probably 4 schools, and those 4 schools would likely be USF, they would be Tulane, they would be Rice, and then of course SMU. So that's the 4 that would get them to that would be the 4 that would get them to the requisite 8 that you have to have the conference. So I don't know what Max is talking about here. I haven't heard anything about that, but let's see, what he's got. And he's been covering USF athletics for a number of years. And so I don't know. Max, it's an interesting thing. We'll see. He says that potentially the, looking forward to that coming. So, we'll have to see if he's right. I mean, but the only way that works is if there's a conference to go to. And right now, that whole thing is in a state of flux, but we'll definitely take a look and keep everybody up to speed on it. So let's go. Okay, thanks on that one. Let's go back to the questions. Hey, you want to talk about the merger? The merger with regard to Cal and Stanford and the Pac-12 and Mountain West. It's a very, very, very difficult situation because you're taking one conference and kind of like dissolving it into the other. And obviously, I think it would be the Pac would keep the name, and so therefore the Mountain West would have to dissolve and come up with with a brand new grant of rights that they would sign a new Pac-12 grant of rights. Then you get the TV contract done. There's a lot of stuff for that to happen that is going to take time. Now, the NCAA has given the Pac 2 years to get back to that 8 and beyond number. So there's that aspect. But the thing is, we don't know who their partner is, the media partner is yet. Is it going to be, Fox and ESPN? Is it going to be Apple? Who is it going to be? I don't know. And I don't think they know at the moment. So we'll see how that going on. When are people going to realize that the Big 12 is not expanding? Well, I don't think they are either. Your son, I agree with that. They're not going to add a couple of new schools. They've already added a bunch, so I don't think that's it. Actually, only 4: Cal, Stanford, Washington. Counting is hard. Apple only offered $100 million for those schools when there were a group of 5 power teams. Now they want to be scrumbly. Anyway, that's not, this is basically not a question, it's more of a statement. I don't know what Apple would offer, guys. I would think it's north of 100 million, although it might not be far more than 100 million for those 4 teams and the 4 more coming on. I'm thinking somewhere between 12 and 12, something like that would make it work. If it's less, if it's 10, they could do that. So, the Cal's taken in the ACC deal. Cal and Stanford are only going to take 10 million, regardless. So, if you can build your own network back, maybe there's something there. I don't know. We'll have to see. Okay, what do we got coming up here? All right. By the way, guys, do me a favor. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and like. Those are things that we want you to do. And by all means, it'll be greatly appreciated. Okay. Go back to the questions. Let's see what we got in our question situation here. He didn't know that everybody. Jose Velez says that he doesn't know that everyone on on Twitter is an expert lawyer. I guess that's why they invented brand new coins. I'm assuming you're talking, Jose, about the parental rights, which seemingly everybody says they can break, but they haven't done it so far. Ben Gunn, what do you got, Ben? ACC schools have not lived up to their promise to invest in football. ESPN admitted a few days ago that they treated the SEC as their only baby. The ACC network is an embarrassment to all aspects. I would disagree wholeheartedly, Ben, on all three of those points, but we'll talk about that at another time. I mean, how can you say that the ACC schools have not lived up to their promise to invest in football? They have definitely done that. I mean, look at Clemson. Look at Wake Forest. I mean, they've had other teams other than Florida State and Clemson win the titles, and so it's hard to say that they haven't invested in football. Now the ESPN saying that SEC is their only baby. I've never heard that, and I doubt that they would ever say that. I mean, I would think that ESPN knows that the SEC is their top baby, but I don't think that they would disregard the ACC network. And the ACC network is not embarrassment. There's fun. There's lots to watch out. They do produce good stuff, and it's done out of Charlotte. So we'll agree to disagree on that one. All right. Okay. What do we got from up in Beaver Country? There would be rumblings that if Stanford doesn't get to the ACC, they invite doesn't get into the ACC. If they invite them, are going independent, and football will plug the Olympic sports somewhere until the next round. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Stanford will go back and with Cal and with Washington State, Oregon State, and they will actually try to formulate a conference. Remember this: if that happens, if the ACC does bolt on those two schools and they go back, then Stanford, who is the big, they're the lead dog in this group, that they'll be able to formulate the conference any way they want to. I mean, they'll go out and pick schools that are AAU schools and top-notch research institutions, and they can make it like a little bit of a Ivy League light if that's what they want. So it wouldn't be the worst possible thing, but I don't think they're going to go independent because that's a really hard thing to do. Okay. Jail says, as a Oregon State fan, I don't want to follow Stanford. They have different priorities, athletics, etc. They even have been a partner. They haven't been a partner to Washington State University, and they haven't worked with us, in over 10 years. Well, I don't know that. I mean, perhaps that's the observation, but Stanford hasn't seemed to be difficult in the conference, from that standpoint. Certainly not as difficult as USC and UCLA have been. Or for that matter, we're getting to Washington State. So I'm sorry, Washington, not Washington State. So I don't know. JL, I think that you might be a little bit harsh on Stanford. There's a lot of hate on Stanford for some reason. But we'll see. Let's see. We'll just go back over here. Okay, we got Jeff's got a question. Jeff, what you? Oh, that was this. There you go. There we go. Hey, Soldier, how you doing, buddy? Will we hear SMU to the ACC today? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I looked around before the show to see if there's anything, Southern. Ross Dellinger from the Atlantic. I'm sorry, from Yahoo, not from the Atlantic. Ross was reporting that they're potentially, and that's potentially, going to do a phone conference sometime early afternoon today or early afternoon Friday. I think they want this thing, as I said earlier, to be bumped up and gotten over with. Now, if they choose not to add these three schools. That's how it rolls out. I don't think they're not going to have a meeting. Okay, they'll just issue a press release that'll say something to the effect of, after careful deliberation, we've decided not to expand. And we wish all the best to those three universities who asked for membership, and then go on. There's no reason. As a matter of fact, it would be an embarrassment if they went up and had a vote on a conference call and reported out that the vote went, 4 or 5 schools voted against. Remember, they have to have 12 to win. They have 11 now, so they have to flip 1 if they can. And so my guess is, as I said before earlier, that they can flip it. I got a 75 to 80% chance I think they can flip those, at least one of those votes. But SMU's trying hard. I got to give the ponies credit. They have done everything humanly possible. Okay, what do we got? By the way, Utah without Cam Rising will be less exciting. Yeah, I think that's true. You're going to watch all college football, and I'll still watch. There you go. Cam Rising, yeah, I think now he has practiced with the team. I don't think that he's taken all of the first string snaps. I think they've given Johnson some opportunity for that, but we'll see how that works out tonight. Cam Rising, I think, look, Cam Rising is someone who Utah desperately needs to be on the field. And if he's not, then it's going to be a whole lot closer game, and Florida's got a much better chance at, if nothing else, keeping the game close. Excuse me. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I don't understand why Billy Napier took the Gators to Dallas the day before and not to Salt Lake so they could get a feeling for the altitude. But anyway, they're there now, and so they'll be playing in about 6 or 7 hours. So we'll have to see what's going on. But Cam Rising, I would, I don't know. I don't know. Cam Rising said he can play. Now it's up to the doctors and to the coaches as to whether or not Cam will play. They've got Graham Mertz, who's starting his first game for the quarterback job at the University of Florida. And by the way, just for the sake of putting the button on this, the Gators actually talked to Cam Rising's family last summer, asking Cam if he wanted to, join the Gators, and he said, "Thank you, no." So I think he's got Utah, and we'll see. It's either going to be, he's either going to be out there, or the coaches and the doctors will say, "You know what? We have a long season to go. We certainly don't want to take any chances with Cam, and we'll try to win the game without him." So it'll be good. And as you say, there's a lot of college football to watch in 11 games tonight. So nobody's going to miss anything. There's going to be good stuff out there. Okay, let's get some more questions. All right, here we go. Okay. If Stanford could build a conference of the remaining, teams, here's what they would have. It's Stanford. It's called the Stanford 12. Stanford, Cal, Washington State, Oregon State, Tulane, San Diego State, Tulsa, SMU, UNM, I guess it's the University of New Mexico, USF, I'm familiar with that one, and Colorado State University, and Rice. Wouldn't be the worst conference. I mean, there's a lot of good teams there. Tulane actually beat USC in the Cotton Bowl last year, so they're good, and they're getting better. Stanford, you got to believe that Stanford's going to get better. Oregon State could win the Pac-12 championship this year. Tulsa, perennially, pretty decent football team. San Diego State, you got them for football in here, but they're a basketball school, but that's okay. University of Mexico, that's the first one for me. I haven't seen that on anybody's list. South Florida, they're getting, hopefully they're getting on the right track with Alex Gullish. Colorado State always has a representative football team. And if Rice can get their act together, that would be a really cool thing for them as well. So, you know what, JL, I don't think that's a bad result. Ross Dellinger says American Commissioner Michael Resco remains interested in Washington State and Oregon State, but he'll likely visit those two schools soon. That is true. Actually, somebody from the office sent me a little note saying that Commissioner Resco would be chatting with those two universities in the not too distant future. So there you go. Let's go back to the questions. And I'm familiar with rivalries out west, but the war between Utah and BYU, I'll tell you something on this one, right? The holy war between Utah and BYU is really difficult. You're gonna want to watch it. You're gonna want to watch this one. The fan bases barely talk to each other. Utah and BYU. It's got to be one of the top 5 or 10. I think the passion of both of those schools and the fact that they just don't get along. And we're talking from all different aspects. That they're in the same conference now, I think is a bit amazing. They haven't played this game in a long time, so we'll have to see. But I'm going to tell you right now, Southeast, you're going to want to watch. This is what, if since you're a Southeast person, Alabama and Auburn, okay, the Iron Bowl. I would say it's on par with the Iron Bowl. It'd be on par with Florida, Georgia, and the cocktail party. It would be on par with even Texas and Oklahoma in some regards. That's lost a little luster in the Red River rivalry in the past few years. But Utah playing BYU, absolutely. I mean, that's a remote drop. You do not want to miss that one. So, yeah, I would definitely say that while you're unfamiliar with rivalries out west, that's one you're going to want to watch when that comes. And in my guess, if I'm being a TV programmer, this is the game I'm going to put on Black Friday. I'm gonna make sure that and highlight this game because of the way the fan bases do not get along. So 100% check out the war. They're not playing this year, so you don't have to worry about that. But they will be playing next year, and then from years to come when they're all in the same conference. So 100% check out the war. You're gonna enjoy it. I would read up a little bit and see. Take the Google machine, just type in about the war, and you're gonna see how this thing really got blown up. So for sure, by all means, check it out. That's a must see. All right, okie dokie. Optimist of the week is Washington State President Kurt Schultz. He told reporters yesterday in Dallas that he's still hoping that the Pac-12 is capable of keeping the band together in order to see what things happen next, as he said. But he also admitted that only going to happen, as we said a little earlier, with Stanford and Cal. So, yeah, your statement on that, Rebel, is right. No question about it. They're going to wait and find out. But you know what? I don't know that they're going to be able to pull that together if indeed it's not with Stanford and Cal. Okay. The Rob Ritter says that that the list that we read of the Stanford conferences are actually good academic schools. Makes sense for them to play together. And now let's see if it happens. Okay, Rob, I think that's reasonable. Let's check it out and make sure that that's what's going on. Let's also see that we got another one here from Who's this one from? And we got one from Chris McDonald. Okay, I got you, Chris. We got yours. And Rebel wants to build the best conference possible, thinks that student athletes really think about them. They don't just play lip service. That's true. Student athletes want to be in conferences where they can have each game each week mean something. And right now, there's a few of those, not a lot, but yeah, the students want that. The student athletes want that. They want to play at the highest possible level so that if it's going on to the pros they want, they will have been battle tested in that regard. But we'll see how that plays out. And so let's see what we got. Okay. I'm very disappointed with Kliavkoff's response to just watching his conference get torn apart, with only public comments being the Pac-12 will win a national championship this year. That's. I mean, he's been the spy who has recently come out of the cold. I don't understand why. I mean, certainly the Pac-12 could win a championship this year. There's some good teams in it. But I don't know why George Kliavkoff is not working, on the phones to Stanford and Cal and, the other two, Washington State, Oregon State. I mean, he's the commissioner of the league, all right? It shouldn't be up to Oliver Luck, who was hired by Oregon State, to reconstruct the conference. So they need a media deal. And George Kliavkoff has not delivered on that at all. It's been a mistake. But he has time to redeem himself, and let's see if that can happen. But I don't even know what he was there doing. He had to be there for the vote, from that standpoint. But if I'm him, I'm just going to go vote and get in the airport, get to the airport, DFW, and fly out of town and head back to San Francisco. Do you think there's any chance that Washington State or I would like to say yes, but I don't think so. And I think it has to do with Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, wanting to keep slots open. And even though they would likely come in at a lesser dollar figure, I don't know that ESPN has pro rata on as many teams as they got. And remember, they're onboarding 8 teams now, Big 12. So you got a lot of teams that have never been there before who are going to be part of that. Washington State and Oregon State, I'd love to see it happen, because you guys have had, the treatment has not been good or fair for that matter. So this is what happened without you having anything to say about it. So I'm sorry about that situation. But the Big 12, they just have not. It would have been easy for them to incorporate those two in when they put in the 4 corner schools. They could have just gone ahead and swept, everything clean. But they didn't, and there wasn't even an inkling that they had talked to Washington State or Oregon State. So I would strongly, look, I'm never going to say never because we don't know, but I don't think that's going to happen. Corey, I'm sorry, buddy, but I just don't think we're there yet. That's what we got here. Right. Okay. If the ACC revenue is sustainable, then follow SMU's lead, go to the alumni base and for an additional $20, $30 million a year. I knew SMU had a lot of money, but that's guys. You're asking. You're saying basically that you want them to invest basically $20 to $30 million a year. That's a big ask. I don't care how much money you've got in your whole situation. And Beaver King thinks that they should add Air Force, and Air Force in Tulsa. You can't add Air Force to a Power Five conference. They're not. They play like Navy and Army. They play in a Group of Five. They don't have they don't have the resources to. Even if you gave them money, you'd be giving it to the Pentagon. They don't have the resources to do that. So I think Air Force is happy where they are. Tulsa, maybe. I mean, Tulsa's still got a lot of oil money there. Okay, what about Yukon and North Carolina State, South Dakotas, and Mizzou and Southern Utah and ASU? No, I don't see that. I mean, South Dakota, Missouri, Missouri's in the Southeastern Conference, guys, so they're not going to leave that. I just don't see NC State, and they're in the to what end? I mean, why would you go there? It just doesn't. That part doesn't make sense to me. Maybe Hawaii. Hawaii wouldn't be a bad ad, but we'll see. I mean, they're working on a new stadium and all that. So interesting, very interesting, guys. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we got Terrence. How soon does ESPN go direct to streaming? Terrence, from what I've read, they're aiming right now for 2025. Now, if you have cable or if you have one of the streaming packages that includes ESPN, it'll still be there. But their direct-to-consumer offering, which will be ESPN Plus or whatever they want to call it. Here's the thing that in 2025, that's what Jimmy Petrot, who's the president of ESPN, said in a recent interview. Here's what I would concern myself with if I'm a sports fan, and that is right now ESPN Plus is about $5.95 or close to $6, $7 after tax. The new version of ESPN Plus will cost, estimated, and this is their estimation, not my estimation, somewhere between $22 a month and $35 a month. Now that is an enormous jump from $6 or $7 to that, and I don't know how well the streaming public is going to, and even sports fans. Is it going to have content all over it? Yeah, it's going to have great content all over the time, but there's going to be a lot of money that's going to be spent, and I don't know. I think that price point is just there. It just seems to me to be way, way, way too much, way too much. So we'll keep a look on it, Terrence. Keep those questions coming. Is a good question. Okay, it doesn't seem like Oresco publicly has been aggressive in pursuing OSU and Bishop. Do you think that he is behind closed doors? Well, look, I think Mike Oresco is a very smart guy. Okay, one of the reasons I think that he is talking to them behind closed doors is because if you're in competition, which he is at this point in time, with the Mountain West, the last thing you want to do is telegraph what you're doing. I thought that the commissioner, Gloria Nevarez of the Mountain West, was, she was up front. She was very transparent. She said that she wanted to go to the Oregon State and Washington State and have a conversation about how this thing could work, and well, let's be honest. Mountain West is closer, and if your budget's going to get cut, as it will be, then it could make some sense for them. But I think Mike Oresco and the American is going to make a play for them, and I think what they're doing is quietly negotiating behind closed doors about what they can do to each other, with each other, and we'll see how that plays out. I don't think Mike's going to not make the call. And he'll probably, be out there and visit in the not too distant future. So, yeah, I wouldn't give up that the American is not going to go after Oregon State and Washington State. And right now, as we know, it's Kurt Schultz, the president. Washington State said it. They're still thinking about keeping the Pac-12 network together, or Pac-12 together. So, we'll see. I mean, these are all evolving stories, and the good news is we will keep you up to date on them. Okay, there we go. Will Comcast settle this dispute quickly with Disney? Yeah, I don't see that one dragging out very long. I don't. I think Comcast will figure out what they want in exchange, and then they'll either pay it or they will extract some sort. I mean, if the conference itself were to stay in business, they may say that the best thing for them, and we're talking about Comcast now, the best thing for them would be to keep the because they have NBC sports networks. Maybe their best thing would be to use it as a thing for NBC Sports Network, or to sell it to ESPN, Disney, or ABC if the whole thing. Now, if the conference goes down in flames, which is possible, then I think that really muddles where the ownership. I think that would then the conference wouldn't exist. So at that juncture, they probably would have to go to court over it. So I do believe Comcast will settle quickly. I have no reason to believe. Everything I've read says that they want to get this thing off the books, and even if they have to take a loss on it. But there's definitely going to be some sort of resolution to this, and I would imagine it would be sometime between now and probably December, something like that. And we have to once and for all see if the Pac's not going to try to reinvent themselves. So that's the reason I'm hedging on the time frame. From that standpoint, remember the Pac is existing right now. So if you're going to tag the outgoing members and that routine, that's a possibility as well. So that's why I think it'll settle soon before the 2024 season starts, for sure, because they're going to have to find out. So we'll see. Stay in touch, as the old saying goes, Terrence. I do think that they're going to do everything they can to resolve it as quickly as they can. Let's go back to our questions. More from you guys. Let's go. What do we got here? All right. Might they look at UAB? They're up for AAU membership this past year round. They're a strong R1 school. Look, I wouldn't say that anybody's left out of this. You never know. I think that today it could be Tulsa, tomorrow it could be UAB. It's just a matter of what they think is a good fit and whose athletic department they like, and we'll go from there. But it's going to be fun to figure out how this is going to go, and so there's that. Okay, all right. Somebody asked, all right, yeah, I can do with that. I'll go over that schedule for tonight again for you. All right, Kent State UCF. That's 7:00 kickoff on FS1. Elon at Wake Forest, 7:00 kickoff on the ACC Network. Rhode Island, Georgia State, 7:00 kickoff on ESPN Plus. St. Francis of Pennsylvania at Western Michigan. That is a 7 p.m. kickoff. No, I'm sorry, 7:30 kickoff. That's on CBSN. Nebraska, Minnesota, 8 p.m. kickoff on Fox. Florida, Utah, that's an 8 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. South Dakota, Missouri, that's an 8 p.m. kickoff on the SEC Network. UAPB, and that's at Tulsa, 8 o'clock, ESPN Plus. North Carolina A&T is what that is, at University of Alabama, Birmingham. We just spoke about those guys. ESPN Plus, that's at 8 o'clock. And then the late night kick tonight is Southern Utah at Arizona State out in the desert. That's a Pac-12 network game starting at 10 o'clock. So there's your games for tonight. 11 of them, 22 teams in action. Okay, what do we have here? Any more questions from this group? Yeah, okay. All right, here's Larry Pilgrim. Hey, Larry, what you got for me? You would take Utah, UCF, and Minnesota tonight in those games. That sounds like you're taking all the favorites, which makes sense. Everybody keeps weighing in on this Cal 12, which would be the new Pac-12, and everybody keeps thinking, pretty much the same teams in there. There was a swap out of Tulsa for UAB, but that's okay. We'll see. They're not going to have a lot of time to figure this one out. So there you go on that. Let's go back to the other side. Okay. I misspoke. Spectrum is cutting off Disney's network. Bad timing for CFB fans. Do you hear that news? Yeah, look, this happens every year. Okay. What'll happen is cable companies say that they want lower carriage fees. Okay, so what do you do if you want lower carriage fees? You wait to the eve of something very important, and then all of a sudden you say, well, we're gonna shut you off if we don't get what we want. And they negotiate and they work at it, and you get some sort of some sort of resolution before Saturday, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. That happens a lot with, and it doesn't. To be honest, it doesn't. It's not always the cable companies that do that. Sometimes it's the broadcast networks. I've seen CBS say, we're not getting enough money out of Comcast, so we're not going to put we're going to put our events up there for them to show. So it works both ways, but at the end of the day, usually, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but usually there's this 11th hour deal that gets done so that people don't get upset that they're missing something and start screaming at Spectrum. If you remember, Spectrum was the one who started the Dodgers and the Lakers out in Los Angeles, and couldn't get any other cable companies to bite out there. So for a couple of years, the Dodgers weren't even seen in most of Los Angeles. So it's that's a rare case. I'm pretty sure this one will be resolved pretty soon before the beginning of the season. Hey, Immaculate, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Hope everything's going well out there in Arizona. And we were just talking about some of the games that are going to be played today, and some of the things that we're excited about. So I just brought you up to speed there, Immaculate, on what's going on in the conversation this morning. And let's go back to our stuff we got. Okay, Big Ten Bruin, what do you got for us? FSU has $700 million endowment. Clemson's is $1 billion. It's a small price to pay up front if you are paying out. Their payouts are $100 million a season. They stand to make $1.2 billion, net $900 million after repaying the school over the course of the 12 years of the ACC deal. Here's what I would do, Big Ten. What I would do is I would check. There's got to be someplace you can research this. I'm not sure that you can use endowment money in athletics. I'm pretty sure you can't. And I think endowment money is put there specifically for academic reasons and not for athletic reasons. So I would definitely check how that works for both Florida State and for Clemson, because I'll give you for instance, Stanford has an endowment of $38.2 billion. And they're not using a penny of that endowment in their athletic department. I imagine that if they could do that, they would do that. Now, is Stanford different than FSU? I assume so. One's a state school, one's a private school. Same with Clemson and FSU. So, but normally state schools do not use endowment money for sports. That's academic stuff, and so we'll see. UT San Antonio is a Research One school in 2021. So is Memphis in 2022, and UAB is there as well. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying they're not good schools. I didn't even make up the list of the schools that they wanted to put in this fantasy deal that was put up there just a couple of minutes ago. So, there we go. It's I need one of those teams to be in there, but they're happy in the American right now. So let's just let's don't get ahead of ourselves here, guys. All right, look, I'm going to have to move on here in a few minutes, real quick. So, any final questions? Let's get them together. And it's been a lot of fun with you guys today. Don't forget, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and like us. We really, really would like you to do that. All right, Terrence, we'll make you the last question of the day so far. Was Fox completely innocent in the demise of the Pac-12? Do you suppose Fox was directly directing Oregon and Washington all year to delay the Pac-12 deal until this period? I am not going to blame Fox for this. The presidents of the Pac-12 all had opportunities to figure out what they wanted. They overpriced themselves by a lot. I think it was $50 million is what they went and they gave Kliavkoff, a number of $50 million. That's what they were looking for. ESPN and Fox were going for closer to 30. They might even have bumped it to 33, 34, something like that. Because it was what the market value was. And they the presidents. So look, I don't blame Fox for doing it because Fox, from the standpoint of you've got to have the presidents on board for this. So I don't think that was the case. And by the way, the last minute deal that Fox did with Oregon and Washington, almost 3.5 weeks ago, that deal didn't come down to the very, very last, and that was a negotiation of the irony to all this, guys, is that 8 of the 10 teams in the conference are leaving for either 30 million or less per year, which is exactly what the ESPN deal was, and was almost exactly what the Apple deal was. So they left the conference, quote unquote, over money and exposure, and they don't get more money. They don't get much more money, and they don't get much more exposure. So, your guess is as good as mine. I think if you're going to blame people, blame the PAC. Blame the PAC administrators. It's not Fox that did in the conference. It's the administrators who did in the conference. And and by the way, ESPN was involved in that as well. So it would have had to be Fox, and I think people give a little too much credit to Fox and ESPN for breaking things up when in fact, you can't do that if they're not willing. The members of the conference is not willing to help you do it. So I'm not going to blame Fox on this one. I'm just going to blame the PAC administrators for overvaluing their product. Okay. No point in Oresco flying out to Oregon State or Washington State until the ACC situations. Absolutely. There's, he can make a phone call. He doesn't need to get on a plane and fly out there. There's no sense. Everything is in, we just talked a little earlier about the big, the Pac-12 network wanting to see what, went down, right? And we know for a fact that they can't start that network without Stanford and Cal. So So yeah, right now everybody's in a holding pattern till the folks at the to the folks at the ACC make a decision one way or the other. How soon can you have subscribers fall? I don't think it's gonna fall below 50 million too much because that's a long. I mean, we've at one point it was 100 million, okay, and now it's 73, 74. I think the bottom is gonna be 50 million. I don't think it falls below that because people are used to using cable, and well, even more and more people get more comfortable with streaming. I think there's always going to be uh, a market for cable, and I think that 50 million might be the bottom, but I don't know that it's going to go below that. That's that's really kind of a tough thing to do. So I'm going to go with 50 million cable homes is going to probably be, the bottom of or the floor of that. And remember, so they would have lost 50 million subscribers. So there's I'm going to put a dent in anything in all of that. So we'll see coming up. There's a good question though. Very good question. Can you offering over Zoom and then meet in person to negotiate in person? True. Yeah. Jim Phillips can get a vote, an unofficial official vote. He can get a vote, and then they can all get together in person and sign the paperwork. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be done in person. So yeah, they can get that done. So there you go, boys and girls. All right. I will tell you tomorrow. We're going to take a long look at what's going on with this weekend and all of the games that they're going to want to be seeing. I mean, there's a lot of really good games to be watched over the weekend, and we'll talk about Friday night's game. We'll talk about who the announcers are, and all kinds of fun stuff. So that is what we're going to look for tomorrow. Is what to expect. Where can you watch your favorite team? Who are some of the broadcasters going to be? So we're going to go deep into that tomorrow. I imagine we're going to have conversations about what's going on with the ACC as usual, and also about potential of keeping the pack alive. So look, gang, really greatly appreciate it. Again, if you get a chance, subscribe, hit the bell, and like us. Also, please take a moment if you have questions and you didn't get them answered today. To go ahead and put them in the comments section below. I will answer them later today. Okay. Well, look, thanks so much for joining us. We've had a lot of fun, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until then, I'm Jim Williams for Stream On. Hope everyone has a great day.